This morning's guest is past president of the Grand Strand Family YMCA. It's Volunteer of the Year 2 years in a row, instrumental in its capital campaign. And when the YMCA needed a soccer coach, they turned to him, a sport he's never played. Meet Jay Huggins, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Agape Senior Assisted Living in Garden City, a little north of Inlet Square Mall. We're focused on the Grand Strand Family YMCA and the kickoff of the new groundbreaking. And we're visiting with its past president, Jay Huggins. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, Greg.
And the president of Crescent Bank. What an exciting opportunity to get you in. Of course, you all have a great facility not far from here on 17 Business.
We do. In Garden City, we've been very fortunate in that location. It's been a super one for us.
Beautiful facility. One that so many folks see coming down. Of course, it being at a stoplight is particularly attractive.
We were very fortunate to find that location.
That really has turned out well. This area, not only Garden City, but particularly Myrtle Beach, an area you know well.
It is. It's one I grew up in, and obviously have come to love over the years. And this is home. It
really is. Yes. I was looking down, seeing HaveANiceBank.com, and thinking about that. Of course, Crescent Bank expanding with the Grand Strand Family YMCA. We want to talk a little bit about Crescent Bank, but the why, the exciting groundbreaking just a couple of weeks ago.
It is. The YMCA initially started 25 years ago out of Myrtle Beach, and they have been leasing facilities over the years. And as we've evolved, we are very fortunate that a lot of people have worked real hard and have seen the benefits of the Y for the community. And we broke ground last week, and a new facility will be up in the next 12 to 18 months right off of Grissom Parkway.
Is it going to be that quick, Jay?
That's what they tell me. Not being a construction person, I have to trust these guys. But yeah, it's going to be here very soon. We should see it sometime next year.
And the location, very easy to find. And, of course, I think, was it 12 acres of donated land?
It is. Burroughs and Chapins had initially donated the land to the city of Myrtle Beach as part of their PUD, and they also contributed some additional acreage to allow this facility to be developed. And the city of Myrtle Beach has done a fantastic job. It's their property, and they're working with the YMCA to make this a reality.
That is tremendous. Well, of course, we saw in last week's Herald a great shot of Claude Epps on our front page, a great shot of Claude highlighting the groundbreaking. I believe he's got a special connection.
He does. I've known Claude a lot of years, and his wife, Clary, I was very familiar with and had met through my family, and it's very exciting to have her name and that family associated with it. Without the Chapin Foundation and people like Clary, the YMCA would not be what it is today.
Right, very definitely. We all had a very aggressive, and it took a long-term capital campaign to raise the dollars. Of course, the Coastal Carolina, or the two chapters, Georgetown and the Grand Strand Family YMCA, together raising funds to build two great facilities. Of course, our focus here on the Grand Strand Family YMCA, as you said, 25 years now operating in Myrtle Beach.
It really is hard to believe. As a kid growing up here, it didn't exist for me. We relied on the city for all recreation, as well as any fitness and everything. It's making a big difference in not only children's but adults' lives, and it's wonderful.
For you, you had a real hands-on involvement, not only as the past president, but also actually out there coaching. Am I correct? You've been coaching soccer for
quite a few years. When my oldest son was just turned 4, I sort of got roped into coaching soccer, a sport that I'd personally never played.
Is that right?
And have evolved over the years. I guess I just wrapped up my 10th year. At times coached as many as 2 teams in any given time.
Oh, come on.
Now I'm down to 1 and thoroughly enjoying it, and going to go with this group of kids as long as we decide to as a group, and we travel around under the Y's name and play throughout the state, and we've had a lot of fun, and hopefully we are helping develop these young men.
I'm sure viewers right now, it's a little after 7 on Thursday morning, are sitting here thinking, how can this guy be president of a bank, obviously be the father of 2, and be out coaching and traveling around? How do you do it?
I guess it's somewhat easy. Obviously you manage your time, but the opportunity to get out on the fields with the kids is really special. As we've all been told, you get a lot more back than you give. And so it puts a smile on my face every time I step out there and get to see the kids and and put the adult side of my life sort of behind me for a moment.
That sounds like more playtime for you.
It
than even
is.
For them.
My wife would reassure that.
That's great. That's great. So at one time, Jay, coaching 2 teams and now down to 1,
Yeah.
but the excitement there over 10 years, you've probably seen these boys really mature a lot on the field.
I really have. The first group of kids that I coached for quite some time are now in 8th grade.
Wow.
And they are turning into young men, and it's been fun. When that team wrapped up a few years ago, we had a little video from when they were 4 up until when we wrapped up when they were 11. And it was very emotional to see the change in them, and unfortunately a little bit of a change in me. Theirs was positive and mine was a little bit of an aging effect.
Well, it happens. It happens.
Absolutely.
That's right. I'm sure it wasn't that bad, but the boys, obviously, the maturing impact for them, and of course the growing up in an organized environment, being out there, and of course the soccer fields are right next to the Y, the existing Y, the leased facility there, which I believe is leased from a church.
It is, First United Methodist Church. That
Right.
was the old private school that I grew up going to in Myrtle Beach. And the Methodist Church has been a great steward of that property and allowing the Y to be there and allowing us to play soccer. And we surely hope to continue to be playing soccer there for many years to come.
Right, right. The new location not too far from there, that's about 67th.
It is. The new location you'll actually access, I believe it's off of 65th Avenue, off the bypass there, and as the crow flies, probably a half a mile.
Great, great, absolutely. Well, 12 acres there that the city has, and as you said, a little extra to work with. They've got quite a bit to make it happen, and I think I saw is it 6.8 or even more $1 million. That's maybe 6.8 now or 6.9 that have been raised to date, but still.
That's correct, and you know, as we begin this process, we've gotten to the point where we were comfortable moving forward financially. But I would surely hope people would keep in mind that that isn't the final number, and will please keep us in your prayers and hearts if there's a donation out there, because the Y is still out fundraising, but not as active as we did over the last 2.5 years.
If a viewer needs to get off to work now or get family out of the house, is the 449-9622 number the best number to call to get more information, or even the website?
That number, and ask for John Roden or Matt Dembski.
John Roden or Matt Dembski.
Correct.
Great, great. 449-9622, or I think you gave me earlier this morning, GSFYMCA.org, Grand Strand Family YMCA.org. It probably has a good bit of information online about the capital campaign.
It has a lot online. I honestly can't tell you on the capital campaign itself. It's got a lot more about the different programs.
Right.
But it's a great way to get in touch with the Y, and it's going to have all contact information as
Absolutely. Surely call in the 449-9622 number and
is the perfect place to start.
Asking for John or Matt. Real quick about yourself, Jay. You said growing up in Myrtle, was it 1969? Not to date you there, but
moved over in '69 from Florence, and have stayed here my whole life, other than after college. When I finished out at Coastal Carolina, I moved to Atlanta and started my banking career in the late '80s there in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow.
But it's been a wonderful place. It's changed quite a bit, but it's still a small town when it's all said and done.
It is, very definitely. I think I saw those census figures pegged at still under 30,000 as a permanent population in Myrtle. Of course, the county, and when we think of the Strand, and you all have expanded a good bit. I mean, Crescent Bank has expanded throughout the county.
We now have 4 locations, and we're always keeping our eyes open for the 5th location, and we surely hope to continue to expand in our home base.
I was amazed to see $500 million now. Is it $500 million in assets?
A little over $500 million in assets, 7 years. It's a testament to our customers, this community, and the excellent associates that we've been able to recruit over the years.
Tremendous organizers helped kicking the bank off back there in 2001, and of course...
wonderful group of initial directors that are still with us today. And their roots were deep within Horry and Georgetown County, and clearly that's been a huge benefit for our company.
Oh, yeah. What actually got you into banking in the first place almost 2 decades ago, Jay?
Growing up here, we have an abundance of successful entrepreneurs. And my family, it wasn't in a position where I would be possibly stepping into a family business. So I saw banking as an opportunity to try to learn what made people successful. Right. And I thought I'd spend 5 or 6 years learn the financial side of business through banking, and then maybe one day start my own business. To some extent, Crescent fulfills that entrepreneurial need, although it's not my business. I'm one of the investors. But I started out for really for training, and truly fell in love with being able to deal with so many different types of businesses, different personalities, and really finding out there's no one trait that makes people successful. It's a collection.
That's interesting. Yes, as you think about that, are there any strong traits that make people successful? As you think back, and of course, as you get into delving into different business and trying to think through, are there any?
There are. Understanding what you're doing. The people that understand their business extremely well tend to make better decisions. Work ethic is the ones that are successful typically have an incredible work ethic and commitment to the success of their company. And they often understand the value of their associates and the importance that they play in their success. Mm-hmm. So, those are some of the traits. Having a little capital doesn't hurt either.
Right.
There are a lot of good people out there that don't have the financial backing, and it makes it a little more challenging. But those are the primary ones that allow people to tend to be more successful than not.
Those are probably some things that folks need these days to even kick off a business. If capital is a tough thing for folks, but they really have a tremendous knowledge of their trade, are there still opportunities, or banks?
There are always going to be opportunities. There are various government guaranteed programs. If you have a really good concept, there are often entrepreneurial investors that will willing to support through ownership possibly. Right. There's going to always be the opportunity for that entrepreneur to put together something and hopefully be successful.
Somehow it's good for folks to have a little capital before approaching a bank, essentially, to have a little behind them to help them kick it off.
And some experience. It's a collection of a lot of little things, but there's no one thing that will preclude you from continuing to try to find a way. There's a lot of opportunities out there.
Absolutely. You said you all are continuing to look even possibly for a fifth location to expand. As you think about North Myrtle, has been a great vehicle for you all. Of course, down here in Garden City, your beautiful new location. Give viewers a sense of where everything, of course, we're not far from one here. Your the main branch or the main office for Crescent Bank is?
On 38th Avenue in Grissom, right in the heart of Myrtle Beach. We'd like to think that's the new banking center of Myrtle Beach there at those crossroads. Our market's going to be pretty much driven on the Grand Strand. So that takes us potentially as far south as Pawleys Island, not much further north than Little River. And then there's some interior opportunities outside of Conway where we are today that as our community continues to grow, we see the need for possibly 7 to 8 locations over time to meet the needs of the community and truly be the community bank for the Grand Strand. That's
tremendous, Jay. How exciting. Well, of course, having a great knowledge of an industry, if someone's going into business, or having a great knowledge of the market, experience here in the marketplace to be able to expand. And as you say, David Morrow, whom you work with, and has been a great stalwart helping to lead along with you, and of course, as you said, a lot of your great associates. I was fascinated seeing the Crescent Bank newsletter, which had a lot of information about the YMCA, I guess something that goes out throughout the bank and to your customers, and seeing a lot of great new faces there at the bank, a lot of new additions in the recent past.
Young company and growing. Just as any young business, you're going to be bringing in a lot of new faces, a lot of new talent that will bring different skill sets. We've been very blessed in that sense.
Volunteer of the Year in 2004 at the Grand Strand Family YMCA. Volunteer of the Year in 2005 at the Grand Strand Family YMCA. How does one go about not only winning it one year, Jay, but winning it back-to-back years there?
The management of the Y would have to answer that. I think it really just comes down there. There are a lot of people very committed to our Y.
Yeah.
I've happened to have been pretty consistent through the sports programs and the fitness side there. And I'm going to speculate the second year there were many people equally or more deserving, but for some reason that particular year they decided to honor me as well. It's quite an honor. The Y is something I truly love, and so I take a lot of pride that they were willing to recognize me, because you do it for the love of it and not the recognition.
There are a lot of tremendous volunteers. It is really, even though as you go to the gsfymca.org and see some of the folks who are actually paid staff at the Y, you know that to run so many of the programs, whether it's soccer, whether it's swimming, whether it's basketball, you've got to have a lot of great volunteers there. Are there volunteer opportunities still?
There are always volunteer opportunities, from assisting with some senior programs all the way down to the after-school programs that the YMCA runs, as well as summer camps. I don't think you can have enough volunteers in an organization like the YMCA, and I'm sure everyone would echo that out there.
That's great. For viewers who may not be familiar with the Y or have never been there, what are some of those central programs, and maybe a little bit about just if there's a principal mission there of the Y?
Yeah, well, there is a principal mission. It's Christian driven, so there's a religious component. The Y does not hide from that, and they interject that into their programs as positively as they can without it being a little overwhelming.
Good.
They do serve from the youngest of ages through after-school care. They take kids there as well as through the sports programs. They're active in basketball and soccer. From that, they have a fitness center which caters to the young adults through the seniors. They have professional fitness people that will help set you up on a program that's appropriate for where you are at that stage, whether it's fitness or age or health issues. They can help you set up an appropriate program. All types of different classes, from karate to yoga, Pilates, things that I've heard of, but not necessarily
but not been a part of. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a great family atmosphere. As we expand, we'll have a members lounge, we'll have an indoor pool. YMCAs are known for swimming, teaching swimming, and in our community where we're pretty much surrounded by water, there's no reason that every kid that grows up in this community shouldn't learn how to swim. So I'm hopeful between the city's facilities and the new YMCA facility that we can find ways to get all of our kids in the pool with some good training, so that if for no other reason, it's a safety feature should they ever be put in that position. But the Y offers very typical programs of a Y, but they do a wonderful job.
As viewers think about different groups in town to invest their dollars as it relates to nonprofit organizations, they may not have thought of the Y. They may not have thought of those programs as vehicles. Of course, you highlighted the capital campaign is still not quite over. There's still some more dollars needed. Share with viewers a little bit about what they could do. Maybe they don't have the dollars. Can they help out in the office in the fundraising aspect there?
Fundraising is an art, not a science. Anyone can help with that if they have friends, relatives that would think the YMCA mission is a good mission to follow. And yes, they can help. I think last time I talked, we were probably running about $500,000 below where we had hoped to be.
Okay.
And we're still striving towards it. We'll get there between now and when that key sticks into the door.
Listen to that.
We move forward. But yeah, there's ways to help through volunteers. There's no dollar amount that's too small. And as we've seen through some incredible generosity, the larger size amounts are amazing that people are willing to invest the amount of money they have into our facility.
So there's no dollar amount too large either, Jay?
There is not a dollar amount too large.
That's great.
In fact, there's a phase 2 and a phase 3.
Great.
So let's don't leave the focus on $500,000. I'm sure our management and board of directors look forward to many years to come, but we truly hope to get this phase built, stabilize ourselves in the new facility, and then we have hopefully greater growth opportunities down the road.
And you do have a very active board over the 25 years. As you see, I remember some guests years ago on Carolina People having Paul Himmelsbach on, or Buddy Stiers on, Joel Foster on, different folks actively involved, folks throughout the community that reach out in many different ways. I'm sure Georgetown has an equally strong association. Georgetown Memorial Hospital System's been a tremendous supporter. I know we've had a lot of support here locally, both from hospitals and others. You highlighted the Chapin Foundation, but the volunteer component there's also always.
It really is a very diverse board. You've got people that are plugged into our community at very high levels within the business community. That you have people that bring expertise, whether they were former teachers that can help us understand our after-school programs needs. Couldn't go without mentioning Alan Jeffcoat and Jack Himmelsbach, who were part of the board that started it 25 years ago, have been leaders from day one of this YMCA and continue to be leaders. When you see those two guys still out there smiling and preaching about the Y, you go, wow, I may be 10, 12 years into this, but I'm just getting started. These guys have shown me the way. They paved it for us, and we continue to follow their lead. They've done a wonderful job. 25
years ago, celebrating the silver anniversary just this year, 2008.
I guess time goes fast.
Yeah, fast. It does. That's right. Speaking of time and time going fast, I think you highlighted your first year of coaching was when one of your boys was 4.
4 years
You have
old.
Family here in the area, Chad.
I do. My mom and stepfather live here in Murrells Inlet. and they've lived on the creek down there for quite some time. Gene Burrows and Edgerton Burrows, and I have a stepbrother, stepsister, and of course my wife Cheryl and Max and Sean, my children. So my immediate family is here, and Cheryl's family is out of Atlanta. My little slip away from the coastal region for 6 years allowed me the opportunity to meet Cheryl. And
Yes.
so I have some interior connections too with family.
That's great. You all met in Atlanta, and you were able to pull her back.
It was pulling at the time. She grew up, was raised, and went to Emory University there in Atlanta. So the concept of living in a small tourist town wasn't probably something she dreamed of as a young lady. But she's since turned to love the Myrtle Beach area and the coastal region, and has developed relationships that are that she wouldn't trade for anything today.
That's great. That's great. You shared early this morning, we were talking about a guest that I've got on the show tomorrow, Nelson Hardwick, that you've gotten real active with the church not far from here. And then, of course, have expanded that back to Myrtle Beach. Share with viewers a little bit about your faith and even how that ties in. You think, I mean, that's a real commitment. Of course, the YMCA, it being on Christian principles. A lot of folks focus on the why, but the C in YMCA is a very important aspect there.
When I moved back from Atlanta, we were pregnant with our first son, Max. So my wife stayed in the Atlanta area for about 7 months to take advantage of her insurance and some maternity benefits that she had earned over the years. And so I lived here in Murrells Inlet with my family while we were building a house in Myrtle Beach. So it was logical to go to the local Episcopal church, Resurrection, at that time because it was convenient. That's where they went. And as my wife would visit, we'd all go together and really fell in love with Resurrection. It's a wonderful church family down here. I grew up going to Trinity in Myrtle Beach as a kid, having grown up there. As our kids got older, Sunday school became a real issue that they needed to be involved with. Cheryl and I were struggling to get from Myrtle Beach on the north end to Surfside Beach as timely as we should have. And, so we decided to try Trinity in Myrtle Beach, which is where I grew up, and quickly found that very little difference between them. Obviously, they're both Episcopal religions, Christian-based from that viewpoint, and just it was a natural fit. We continue to go to Trinity. Cheryl served on the vestry there and in their leadership, and it's our second family, as we've all heard, your church family. As I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate the value of that.
Even more.
And yeah, that does help me tie in over to the YMCA. And even though the Y is Christian-oriented, the Y has been very wonderful to reach out. It's not limited to Christians. And I have great supporters that I've called on over the years that aren't Christians, that are wonderful, committed people to their religion, and they've continued to support the Y because they see the benefits to the community. A lot of their children have played in the Y's program, but clearly there's a direct tie to me through my religion.
You oftentimes see it driving by and see it on the soccer fields, the folks kneeling prior to a game or at the end of a game or during a basketball game before a game kicks off, kneeling in prayer at the same time, as you say. Clearly it's open to everybody.
Absolutely. And it's the fun part of that as a coach. Sometimes as an adult I may get a little bit too caught up and I start thinking about, okay, who am I going to play where am I going to play? And I reminded our kids before every match, it's your job to remind me for us to kneel. And the kids really do a fantastic job. Coach, it's time for our kids.
Coach.
And so, you will see that. And we do get caught up sometimes in focusing on the event that's going on, but we often have to be reminded, and the Y does a good job. That's one of the beautiful things about the Y.
Right. And you think, of course, as just those aspects of seeing the boys mature and you mature, those aspects over the years, the involvement in many nonprofit organizations. I saw you've been very active in Rotary or in Sertoma for many years. To think about groups, but to see the young men, to see the boys grow into young men, that excitement's probably a big high for you.
It is priceless, as many people have said before me. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
If a viewer had that opportunity and could make some dollars, are there places they could put their dollars? Could they spearhead them into the capital campaign into a certain area? Are there needs in particular for this last $500,000 or more? Are there particular needs that someone needs to think about?
There are the footprint, the facility is pretty much nailed down at this point. As you can imagine, with the construction contract, you got to pretty much lay it out. So the footprint today, in the absence of one of those incredible gifts, has been planned for this phase. But there are a lot of naming opportunities still left. That's part of the fundraising, and like in the Claire, naming it after Claire
Right,
through the
right.
Chapin Foundation, their donation was just amazing.
Right.
And so there are other opportunities within the facility where people can recognize family members or whoever they choose to. Or if they want to be anonymous, that's fine too. So yeah, there's still opportunities, but the footprint today is, for the most part, locked down.
That's tremendous. Jay, I'm sorry we've run out of time. Thanks so much for
Right.
being with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed it.
Congratulations on the campaign. Keep it going.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to a little more with Jay Huggins coming up next. I wish you could have heard Jay talking off camera. It helped me highlight the central word that ties them all together. It's a simple word. It starts with an F and ends with a Y. Family. Think about that. He was wrapping up all these great nonprofit and volunteer activities he was doing to focus on his family. At that time, it was not only his immediate family, but his family of players that he was dealing with out on the soccer field, his family of associates and other folks there at Crescent Bank, and the family there at the Grand Strand Family YMCA. There's a reason that word ends with a Y, ties into the YMCA. Think about them. Think about the Grand Strand Family YMCA and the need to support them. They've got a simple phone number and two guys you can ask for, Matt Dembski and John Roden, 843-449-9622, 843-449-9622, or go online to gsfymca.org. A lot of great information there about the hours. If you've never been to the Y, come on by. But think about the commitment there that the community's made and the Chapin Foundation and so many of the amazing donors throughout the years getting ready for the opening 12 to 18 months from now. You can be a part of it. Give them a call. Family's what it's all about. For Jay Huggins, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you. My
Absolutely.
pleasure. Enjoy it.
Yeah.